Hi, I'm David, and welcome to the Jersey Type. Now, this is my first long-form video, which means it's not going to be of the best quality. I'm shooting on a cell phone, and I don't have access to any actual recording software or editing software, so bear with me. Okay, now let's talk about this actual machine. This is a 1976 Royal Sahara. It is basically just an Adler tippa. The Adler tippa is a really prominent typewriter in typewriter history. Oh, okay, maybe not prominent, but it is popular among collectors from what I've seen. This is not an Adler tippa. This is a Royal Sahara. But what I mean by they're basically the same thing is it's just a rebadged Adler tippa. It is blue and it has the Royal name on it and the Royal model on it. And if you were to look this up on the typewriter database, you would actually see the machine and the Royal lineup, which is pretty neat. Now, something interesting about the Adler tippa, because that is what this machine is the Adler tippa was made between 1959 and 1979, so it had a 20-year period, split between two models, the tippa 1 and the tippa 2. This is based off of the tippa 2 because it's made so close to the end of the tippa lineup. And to be honest, it's not bad. I'm pretty sure they made this up into the early 80s, even though the actual Adler tippa ceased production before then, because Royal might have had the rights to it. I honestly don't know, it's just from what I've heard from researching this machine. But this machine is not terrible. Normally, typewriters made closer to the end of typewriters in production are not all that good. Like, some of the later electric machines kind of sucked, unless it was an IBM, because those were actually pretty good. This is not an IBM. This is also not an electric typewriter. It is fully mechanical, and there are some issues, as the actual key levers tend to bend because the material is very thin and flimsy, and it doesn't have the very best build quality. This is all plastic, but besides all of that, it actually holds up surprisingly well. Now, I would like to talk about the actual build quality a little bit more in depth. As you can see, there are some issues with this particular machine, and the issues are basically the same with any plastic-shelled typewriter. As you can see, there are cracks here, and that is not ideal, but I'm actually quite surprised that there aren't more cracks in this machine. The only two cracks I've identified is that one and that one. Normally they happen around the mounting points, like here, and I have often seen the ink covers on these plastic machines get snapped in half or broken and just not end up in good condition because of the plastic. But this machine is actually in pretty good condition. It's in such good condition it had the original tape to hold this part in place when I got it. But that's besides the point. The cool thing is that it actually works pretty well. If I were to go here, maybe it doesn't sound the best, but it does sound pretty good. Now, I suppose you would like to hear some of the history behind these machines, and honestly, I don't really know. It was a portable typewriter meant for the everyday consumer, for people at home or people in offices, or to travel with and type as you go, like a journal. And that is kind of what typewriters were for. Which is kind of redundant for me to say. I seem to be losing track of what I am saying. I don't really have a script. I am making this up as I go for the most part. Haven't really made any long-form content. I think 5 minutes would be good to round this one out, because it's just a test run. This is not the only typewriter I have. I can talk about many of other machines. And I don't just collect typewriters too. Like up here we have a camera, an Edison wax roll, and the such. But I suppose something pretty interesting to talk about, let me pull this up for you real quick, is this. This is a 1946 Royal KMM. MM stands for Magic Margins, because that's what Royal was known for, kind of. They patented it in 1938. That's not the point. The point of this is that I'm in the middle of restoration of this, because it it doesn't really work that well. It took me a few hours to get the carriage to move, and it doesn't really move all that well in the first place. So, I suppose this is a good way to see in the middle of a typewriter restoration. I've been restoring typewriters for a few years now, and I am not perfect, but I do a good enough job, and I am confident I will be able to get this machine running. It is very seized. But while I have it in this deconstructed state, I can actually show you something pretty interesting. The heart of a typewriter. Move all the way over here. You go in here. You see that lever? When I hit the space bar, it moves. Now, the carriage is all the way to the side, so the line lock is preventing the carriage from advancing anymore. But the spacebar interacts with something back there, which is much easier to see with your eyes, and I can't really put the flash on right now, so that kind of sucks. But the thing that this lever interacts with is the escapement, and basically what it does is you would press this, and it would allow it to open up one for the spring to ratchet forward the carriage one, or back, I suppose, and it does that, but it prevents it from doing any more than one. It's a really complicated thing, and if it breaks, the entire machine is basically done for, which I thought was the case with this machine, but actually, it was just one of the gears was incredibly seized, so I just squirted some oil in it, and that is how I got the carriage to move. But it took me a few hours to figure that out. And that is kind of what restoring a typewriter is. Also, this is a spare part I had because the platen knob cracked off, and I had this rubber bit to hopefully cover it up a bit. Secondarily, something really horrible happened to this machine. As you can see, it was restored by another company, so I have no idea how it ended up like this. But the carriage return is bent. That's bent, that's bent, this doesn't work. This was all bent out of shape. I just got it working. It didn't go up before. It was because that bar back there conflicted with this piece. This piece and that piece were overlapping each other, and it wouldn't go up. But now it does. I bent it back in the spot, and that's broken. Oh my goodness, who let this happen to their typewriter? When I first got this, this was so far bent that this wouldn't even advance anymore. Jeez. I don't know if I'm going to be able to completely fix this, but when I do, or if I do, you'll be the first, third, maybe fifth to know. Who knows? Yeah. My first long-form video, and darn it, I am now saying that I've gone over the 5-minute period. If you saw my demeanor shift halfway through the video, that is because I ran out of my very limited script, and, yeah. So, have a nice rest of your day, and if you want more content like this, if you want a higher quality of content like this, let me know, because I will start to try to learn how to edit videos and stuff like that. I currently don't know how to do any of that, but if this does well, I will put some actual effort into doing so. Have a nice rest of your day, and what's a closing motto I should do? Get typing? Nah. I'll figure it out later. Have a nice rest of your day. Bye.